Hello there, this is David Rao from Join Up Dots, and this is the podcaster's mastery module on finding that niche sweet spot. Niche, whatever way you say it, but the actual sweet spot that will mean that you've got targeted audience, you've got targeted listeners, customers that are literally clamoring for your content. Now, when people start thinking about a podcast, you kind of think, oh, I need global domination. I need thousands and thousands and thousands of listeners. That is a mistake. And it's really one of those things that so many people think about at the beginning, and they just shouldn't. Big mistake, as I say. What you need to do is focus on the sweet spot. You need to niche down until you cannot niche down anymore, and you can find things that people are desperately looking for. Now, if you can find the people that are desperately looking for something, there is huge value in that. And if you're certainly looking to build content and products around your podcast, this is the best way of doing it. So let's go into iTunes and show you what we're talking about. So here we are in the familiar iTunes, and this is where all the podcasts are hosted. There are other platforms, but this is the main one that we like to keep our eyes on. And what we're going to do, we're going to go over to all categories, and we're going to look at the different areas of content. Now, certainly, if you are looking to sell your products, then there are going to be ones that are going to be easier to sell than not. So if you were like an artist, you would go into the art category, and you might want to sell canvas, you might want to sell paintings you've done, might sell tuition on how to do paintings. But it's absolutely key, as I say, to niche down. Really look at the smallest aspect of art that you possibly can, and that is where the true value is. So if we go over to, say, what's hot, which is always a good indication of what we should be looking for, and I'm going to click on seal, and I'm just going to go along the top and have a look at what kind of things are in arts that people are doing very well on. Now, the ones at the top are quite obviously the ones that people have got the most interest in. So the very first one is the World of Warcraft podcast. So I'm going to click on that, and I can see that the popularity of the show is very good. And I can see the popularity is very good all the way down. Literally every single show gets listener figures, which is excellent. He's also producing a huge amount of content. It's is it every day? No, it's not every day, but certainly he has been doing it for, well, maybe 4 or 5 years, and he hasn't dried up yet, which is a good indication that there is a market there. Now, if you look at the reviews as well, 7,396, that's a huge amount. So this is a show that is loved by the fans of World of Warcraft, and if you've got products, then this would be the perfect place to actually link your products to and sell them. Very small market. Well, it certainly is in my mind. I don't know anything about World of Warcraft. It might be a huge market, but certainly he has touched in on games and hobbies, video games, and the instance, World of Warcraft podcast. Now, I'm going to go to the next one, the Moth podcast. Now, what's this? The Moth has presented thousands of true stories told live and without notes to standing room only. Moth storytellers stand alone under a spotlight with only a microphone and a room full of strangers. Strange. I'm not sure if I would listen to it, but you can look. Huge amount of popularity on there, and also a huge amount of reviews as well. Fantastic stuff, 4,000. So what you need to do is think about the content that you're interested in, and think about how you can break it down into the smallest area. If you're interested in doing a podcast about cars, maybe it might be useful to do about Ford cars or the engines of Ford cars. If you're looking at doing gardening, here's a good one over here, just as I'm saying that, the Garden Fork, cooking, DIY and other fun stuff. Now you can look on that. Mushroom foraging, rolling garage shelving, DIY, coconut banana bread recipe. So huge amount of content, and it's targeted. So if somebody is interested in cooking and DIY, they will come to it. Now, the thing that you need to remember really is if you market to all folk, you will go broke. That's what they always say, and there's a huge amount of relevance to that. So if you're looking to share your content with the world, you're not going to do as well as actually narrowing it down to a smaller audience. Now, my show, Join Up Darts, is pretty much about overcoming fear. If you listen to all my shows, the key message is, how did you take that leap of faith? How did you decide to actually do that? Now, I don't really think about anything else on that. That is the whole essence of my show, that I build up to that point to give people a momentum to be able to carry on into their own lives and do great stuff. So think about it. Niche down, and then niche down and niche down until it hurts, and think about your content and how you can break that content down into a smaller area and a smaller area and a smaller area. And believe me, you can go down into a minute area. And actually, while we're talking about this, let's demonstrate it now. Okay, so we're into Google, and let's think about something. Say knitting clubs in South California. Let's see. South Bay Beach City's knitting circle, knitting classes in California, knitting classes Pasadena. Now, a tiny little niche, knitting clubs in South California, but you can already see that there is an audience. There's a market for that. So if you create a podcast around knitting classes, then you will have listeners come to you because you can see that they're already out there. Let's go dog walking clubs. Dog walking in Burbank, dog walkers South San Francisco, dog walkers Pacifica. Once again, you've niched it down into something that you think is so narrow that there's not going to be a market. But of course there is. And on a podcast like that, if you're talking about dog tips and how to walk them and where to go and anything dog related, you have already got people that are interested in that subject. So we won't sort of overkill this, but really focus in on it and niche down. Take your subject, your broad subject, take the interest that you want to present to the world, and try to think, how can I make that smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller? Because then that is the key value. That is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck.